It was a Wednesday evening in our small town of Crestwood, Idaho, one of those unremarkable nights that fades into the background until something shatters the ordinary. I'd warmed up last night's lasagna, the kind of simple meal Javier always ate without complaint. He sat across from me at our worn oak table, fork moving mechanically, eyes glued to his phone as if the world outside it didn't exist. Then, mid-bite, he looked up, face cold and unreadable, and said, "Stefania, I think it's time we do a DNA test for Mateo." The words hit like a gust of winter air. I thought he was joking, some cruel attempt at humor after a long day. But there was no warmth in his expression, no hint of a tease. His jaw was set, gaze fixed on the tablecloth's frayed edge rather than on me. His fork scraped the plate, a harsh sound in the quiet of our kitchen. My chest tightened, air thinning around me. 15 years. We'd raised Mateo together for 15 years, every fevered night, every bandaged elbow, every science fair volcano, every muddy soccer game under Crestwood's gray skies. We were a unit, or so I'd thought. "Are you serious?" I tried to laugh, hoping he'd soften, admit it was ridiculous. But his face remained granite, unyielding. The absurdity made my head spin. I could still see Javier in the delivery room at St. Mary's Hospital, eyes glistening as he held Mateo for the first time. Javier, who never cried, not even when his father passed, had wept then, clutching our newborn like he was the answer to every question life posed. That memory was my anchor, but now it felt like a mirage. I didn't yell. I didn't fling the plate or demand how he could accuse me of betrayal. Instead, I moved through the evening like a ghost, clearing dishes, tucking Mateo in, then lying awake beside Javier in the dark. His breathing was even, undisturbed, while I counted the ceiling fan's rotations, each turn a reminder my life had tilted off its axis. For 2 days, silence between us grew thick, suffocating. Javier left for his accounting job at dawn, returned after Mateo's bedtime, barely glancing my way. Then, without discussion, we were in a sterile clinic in Pineview, waiting for a nurse to call us in. Mateo asked that morning why we were going to the doctor. Javier, calm as ever, said it was routine blood work. I couldn't contradict him, couldn't voice the truth. I didn't tell my sister Elena, who called nightly, or my friend Carla, who had strong opinions about men. The weight was mine alone, speaking it felt like making it real. The nurse's chipper greeting was a spotlight on my shame. Did she see me as the cheating wife? Javier as the betrayed husband? Or were we just another couple fraying in her waiting room? When she swabbed Mateo's cheek, he flinched and looked to me for comfort. I forced a smile, but inside I was unraveling. Javier didn't smile, didn't meet my eyes. He signed forms with a steady hand, as if this were just another bill. I sat frozen, clinic walls closing in, realizing the man who'd wept over our son no longer trusted me. This test wasn't just about Mateo's paternity. It was about our marriage's foundation. Days that followed were like wading through fog. Javier spoke only when necessary. Words clipped. He left before sunrise, came home after dark, ate quickly, my presence a burden. I tried to act normal, folding his sweaters, leaving his thermos by the door, setting the table with care. But silence built a wall, growing taller daily. Mateo noticed first. One evening, pushing carrots around his plate, he whispered, "Mom, is Dad mad at me?" His dark eyes pleaded for a fix. My throat closed, but I managed a smile. "No, sweetheart. He's just tired. Work's tough." The lie stung, but what could I say? That his father doubted his existence? That our family teetered on a knife's edge? When Elena called, her voice warm, I wanted to confess. She'd always been my rock, but I said I was exhausted. She paused, then said, "Stefania, Javier's always had this edge. Remember when he grilled me about watching Mateo as a baby? He worried about silly things. I thought it was care, but sometimes I think he doesn't trust anyone." Her words cut, stirring a memory. Years ago, when Mateo was a toddler, Javier accused me of leaving the garage door open after gardening. I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. But he stared with cold eyes. My word not enough. Some wounds scab but never heal, they split open at the slightest pressure. The house felt different during those waiting days. Less a home, more a clinic cold, sterile, heavy with dread. Javier moved like a stranger, silent, detached. I noticed small things. He took his laptop to the den, shut the door. A new habit. One morning, it was password locked when it had been open, filled with budgeting spreadsheets and car maintenance articles we never tackled. He carried his phone everywhere: bathroom, garage, anywhere my eyes couldn't follow. At night, he turned away in bed, asleep in minutes, while I lay awake, fridge humming downstairs. I counted clock ticks, each a drip in an empty cave. I wondered what sparked this doubt. Had someone said Mateo didn't look like him? Had a coworker joked carelessly? It was absurd Mateo had Javier's cheekbones, wavy hair, same scowl when frustrated. But logic didn't matter. Doubt rooted in Javier's mind, spreading like weeds. By the fifth night, silence was unbearable. I watched him bury himself in a car magazine, ignoring me, realizing he wasn't just questioning Mateo, he was questioning me. All I could do was wait for a paper to absolve or shatter everything. The morning of the results, I couldn't touch my coffee. The mug sat cold, steam gone, as I chewed my lip raw. My hands trembled, nails digging into palms. Mateo had left for school. Thank goodness I couldn't let him see me like this. Javier drove to the clinic in silence, grip tight on the wheel, knuckles pale. I stared out. Crestwood streets blurring gas station, library, old oak by the park. My stomach churned with every turn. At the clinic, the receptionist's bright smile mocked us. "Mr. and Mrs. Navarro, come in." My legs wobbled down the sterile hallway to the doctor's office. He sat behind a wide desk, glasses low, face heavy with bad news. He shuffled papers, each page a drumbeat in my chest. "Are you ready?" Javier didn't flinch. "Yes." His voice was too steady. I nodded, throat tight. The doctor tapped the papers. "Results show 0% paternity probability. Mr. Navarro is not Mateo's biological father." The words hit like a blow, breath catching, room tilting. Javier leaned back, exhaling, as if he'd known. But the doctor continued, eyes on me, concern replacing professionalism. "There's more. We tested maternal DNA as a control. Mrs. Navarro, Mateo is not biologically related to you either." My heart stopped. I stared, waiting for a retraction. "What?" My voice was a whisper. He shook his head. "We ran it 3 times. Results are consistent. Mateo is not related to either of you." The floor vanished. The doctor's voice faded, lips moving without sound. Javier shifted, but I felt only a hollow ache. Mateo, not mine. Not even mine. Javier stood, pacing, voice sharp. I knew something was off. I knew it. His hands waved. He turned, eyes like knives. "You had one job, Stefania. One. Look at this mess." I opened my mouth. No words came. I had carried Mateo, felt his kicks, nursed him through nights. But a paper said otherwise. We drove home in silence heavier than any argument. Javier slammed the guest room door, gone from our bed, from me. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with a shoebox of keepsakes: Mateo's hospital bracelet, newborn photo, St. Mary's discharge papers. I traced them, desperate for proof my motherhood wasn't a lie. Doubt crept, cold, relentless. If Mateo wasn't mine, not Javier's, whose child had I raised? Then it hit, sharp as ice. What if there'd been a hospital mistake? What if Mateo was swapped that night 15 years ago? After Javier shut himself away, I pulled the shoebox from the closet's top shelf, hands shaking. I spread its contents under the kitchen's dim light bracelet. Creased birth records, faded photos. One stopped me. Me, pale from surgery, holding Mateo, a young nurse behind, eyes wide, startled as if caught. Her badge was crooked, dark hair loose. I'd never noticed her expression, but now it haunted me. The longer I stared, the more a terrible thought took hold. What if Mateo was switched, not stolen, in the maternity ward's chaos? Next morning, I called Saint. Mary's voice unsteady, explaining the test. My suspicion. The operator's tone was cold. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Navarro. Records are confidential without a court order." Confidential stung like a slap. My world crumbled, and they offered bureaucracy. I hung up, hands trembling, but wasn't done. Driving to St. Mary's after 15 years felt like revisiting a war zone. The lobby was brighter, walls whiter, but the parking lot unchanged the spot where Javier paced while I labored. I sat in the car, gathering courage, then walked in, antiseptic and stale coffee hitting like a wave. At the desk, I whispered, "I need to speak about a possible newborn mix-up from January 2010. Urgent." The clerk's eyes flickered with pity, suspicion. "Without a court order." I cut her off, voice breaking. "I'm not asking for names. Check who gave birth that day. My son might have been switched. Please." She hesitated, slipped into the back. 10 minutes later, an older woman appeared, silver hair in a tight bun, badge reading Margaret Ellison, Patient Services Director. Her eyes were kind, cautious. "I remember you," she said. "Emergency C-section. Tough one. We almost lost you." My breath hitched. "You remember me?" 35 years here," she said. "Some cases stay." In her office, door closed, I spilled everything test. Javier's coldness. Nurse's photo. She listened, nodding, face solemn. She pulled a dusty folder. "January 2010, she murmured. "Half digital then. Some paper remains." Her finger traced notes. "3 other deliveries, 2 boys, 1 girl. Yours the only C-section." My pulse roared. Could a mistake have happened? She sighed. "Short-staffed. 2 nurses out. It's possible." Possible echoed like a gunshot. She closed the folder. "New nurse that week. Young, inexperienced. Left soon after. Emily Carter. Start there." I left with Emily Carter's name burning, the nurse from the photo, her guilty eyes a clue. I confided in Carla. "You need a lawyer, Stefania. Someone tough to fight hospitals." She gave me Daniel Pierce. 2 days later, I sat in his office, his sharp eyes scanning as I recounted everything. He scribbled, then leaned back. "Stefania, this path won't be easy. Truth brings answers, but pain. Families break over less. Ready?" I swallowed. My marriage was in pieces, Mateo withdrawing, every breath heavier. "I want to know what happened," I whispered. He nodded. "We start with the nurse." Daniel hired an investigator. The wait was agonizing, days stretching. When he called, I nearly dropped the phone. We found her. Emily Carter. Willow Creek, 80 miles away. Baker now. Baker. From hospital chaos to dough, it felt like hiding. Against Daniel's advice, I drove to Willow Creek, road winding through fields, thoughts racing. What would I say? What if she lied? Confirmed it? The bakery was quaint, between a hardware store and diner. Signs swirling. Air thick with cinnamon. Yeast. I pushed open the door. Behind the counter, a woman with dark hair and a messy braid froze. Recognition flashed. "Can I help you?" Her voice wavered. I stepped closer. Emily Carter, St. Mary's, January 2010. Her hands gripped a rolling pin, knuckles white. She set it down, closed her eyes, whispered, "I was 22. First month. A mess." In the back, surrounded by flour and sugar, she leaned on a counter, hands shaking. That night was insane. 2 deliveries, C-section, babies crying. Supposed to check bracelets, bassinets. But I was rushed. Thought I got it right. My voice broke. "You switched them." Tears welled. Not on purpose. When I realized, I told my supervisor. She said, "Stay quiet or I'd ruin lives. My career." I left. I stood stunned, heart pounding. 15 years of love on a 22-year-old's mistake. She wasn't done. Other mother blonde hair, braid, husband a mechanic. Laura Bennett. The name seared. A direction. Terrifying. My biological son out there. Driving to Laura Bennett's felt like a dream I couldn't wake from. The investigator gave the address, but holding it felt surreal. Her Pineview neighborhood was modest brick homes, peeling paint, skateboards on lawns. Laura's house was single-story, faded curtains. She opened the door, vanilla and laundry soap wafting, petite, blonde hair in a loose braid, face tired, warm. She started to close the door, stopped. "St. Mary's, January 2010. Not a question. I nodded. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. Inside, cozy worn furniture, knitted throw, pop music from upstairs. A teenage boy lounged, earbuds in. He glanced up, my breath caught. His jawline, brow, it was Javier. "Evan," Laura said, "say hello." He gave a curt nod, eyes wary. I smiled weakly, heart racing. Mateo wasn't with me. I needed to face this alone. Laura sat, twisting hands. "I felt something wrong," she said. "Evan's blood type doesn't match ours. Doctor said it happens, but I knew." Her words mirrored my pain. 2 mothers, same doubt, 15 years. "I think our sons were switched," I said, voice trembling. She covered her face, tears spilling. Dear God. Silence, heavy. I whispered, "Will you do a DNA test? For Evan, Mateo, us?" She nodded. Yes. Waiting for results was torture, worse than the first. Not just confirming Javier's suspicions, learning if my motherhood was a lie. When Daniel called, I was at the table, Mateo upstairs. Hands shook, nearly dropped the phone. "Stefania, test confirms. Evan Bennett is your biological son. Mateo is Laura's." Words gutted me. I slid to the floor sobbing, clutching the phone. Not because I lost Mateo, nothing erased 15 years, but one mistake rewrote our lives. I pressed my forehead to knees, whispering to Mateo's photo, wide smile, wavy hair. "You are my son. No paper, no blood, changes that." Javier grew colder. Even after truth about Evan Mateo, he seemed relieved to distance himself. Left earlier, stayed out later, barely spoke. I focused on Mateo, holding him close, reminding him my love was unshaken. But suspicion grew. Checking our bank account to pay bills, I saw it. Hotel charge in Pineview. Dinner for 2 at a restaurant I'd never visited. Bakery receipt for pastries I never tasted. Hands shook, gripping the table. That night I confronted Javier as he tossed keys on the counter. "Who did you buy pastries for?" He froze, scoffed. "Don't start, Stefania." My voice rose. "Hotel, restaurant, pastries. Think I'm stupid?" He stared, shrugged. "It's nothing." Something broke 15 years of loyalty, raising Mateo through doubts, enduring coldness. I slapped him, sound echoing. "Don't say it's nothing. You doubted me, Mateo, and now you're running." He grabbed his coat, stormed out, door slamming. He didn't come home for 3 nights. Mateo asked where he was. I said. He's not here. Fourth day, a courier delivered divorce papers. Javier's signature neat, final, like I was a deal closed. I sat, tears falling. Not just a marriage ending every hope for a family. Gone. Beneath pain, fragile relief. No more tiptoeing around his temper. Silences. The man who wept in the delivery room was gone. Meeting with Laura was set for a park by Clearwater River. Neutral ground. Mateo walked beside me, hood up, hands in pockets. I wondered if any place could ease what was coming. Laura and Evan were there. Evan lanky, restless, hands in jeans. Eyes flicked to us, away. My stomach twisted. 2 boys, mine in different ways. Strangers. We stood apart, river's murmur, children's laughter the only sounds. Mateo broke silence. "Mom, what's this about?" Heart cracked. I knelt, hands trembling, meeting his eyes. "Mateo, 15 years ago, hospital mistake. DNA showed you're not my son by blood, but you are my son, always." Face paled. "Not your son? You raised me. You're my mom." "Yes." Tears falling. "I'm your mom every day. Blood doesn't change that." He shook his head. "Then who am I?" Voice broke, slicing me. Evan muttered, "So she's my mom?" Gesturing to me. Laura touched his arm. "By birth, yes. I raised you, Evan, like Stefania raised Mateo." Boys locked eyes. Faint resemblance Evan's brow, Mateo's scowl. Mateo turned away. "So I'm nobody's." I reached. He flinched. "You're mine. No paper erases that." He whispered, "Why don't I know who I am anymore?" Question hung, unanswerable. Days after were brutal. Mateo withdrew, hood up, locking himself in his room. House, once alive with laughter, silent. I whispered through his door, "I love you, Mateo." Never changes. Some nights he shifted but never replied. One evening on the porch he spoke, voice trembling. "If I'm not yours by blood, who am I?" I sat close, not crowding. "You're mine, not DNA. Paper's love makes you mine." He didn't pull away. Small victory. I met Daniel again. Papers spread on his desk. "Hospital won't budge without a fight. If ready, we'll sue." I stared at legal jargon every sleepless night. Mateo's tears. "I'm ready." Voice steady. "All the way." Lawsuit wouldn't undo past, but demand truth. Weeks later, spring afternoon, I sat on porch, blanket over knees, air fresh with grass. In yard, Mateo. Evan tossed basketball. Awkward, then fluid. Not brothers, not strangers. 2 boys altered by mistake, finding rhythm. I watched, hope flickering after darkness. Lost marriage, certainty of son, but not Mateo. Never him. Faced truth, survived. Scars don't define, they remind we endured. Boys laughed, ball thumping. I closed eyes, sound anchoring me. Still a mother, enough.